It's time for an update on the Howard Clark Wakizashi project that I made a video about so very long ago and that hasn't seen any more information. Some folks have asked me what's going on with it, and now I actually have something to report. There's also maybe some lessons to take away from here in terms of planning and my lack of responsible planning. Anyway, it's a note that things don't always go according to plan, and if you want them to, it requires a little bit more diligence than I put into it. First up would be showing you the fittings. Now, this was a little bit of an interesting case because I didn't actually ever get the fittings in the mail. Most of the time I have them kind of sitting around and I can measure them and take better photographs of them and think about it. But in this case, I had the maker of the fittings send them directly to the mounter, the person that's putting it all together and assembling the koshrai and making it all pretty and finished. The fittings are a Fuji kashira and a small suba, and I opted to actually do a koiguchi and koijiri as well. In retrospect, one of those planning pieces, I think it would have been nice if I had a kurigata made for it as well, but I did not do that because I didn't plan ahead far enough. That's really about it. The fittings themselves are simple blackened steel, and they have kind of a hammer forged look to them, something rough, and that was really the idea. Initially, my thought process for this sword in terms of what to do and what I wanted was Ikuchi or something like that. I'm probably saying the name wrong, but in a sense I wanted it to look like a fancy stick, and my goal was to have a Fuji, Kashira, Koijiri, Koiguchi, and then a Suba spacer almost, but nothing that really acts much as a guard of any kind. And then I was going to have the saya and suka wrap the handle and scabbard, both just wrapped and wound in rattan. In a nutshell, though, that didn't really pan out because of the size of the fittings. And again, this is really my problem in planning, because I had this vision in my mind of doing maybe a 1/4 inch rattan wrapped all the way around, and I thought it would look kind of neat, almost like a martial arts stick or a training weapon, or I don't know. But at least in my mind, just simple lacquered rattan. And when I say lacquered, I don't mean like colored lacquer, I just mean the natural wood color of the rattan coming through. I thought that would look really cool in my brain, and unfortunately it's not going to work out because of the saya size. If I did that, then the saya would be too thin and wouldn't be strong enough and could warp or bend, or bad things could happen. The blade might not go in and out of it correctly. The rattan would back it up, but as things dry and cure, there's movement, and that seemed to be a bad idea. And since my intention is to have a fully functional piece that does not suffer from any kind of issue like that, I opted not to end up going that direction. The alternatives would have been to have the Josiah, the maker of the fittings, remake something, and I didn't want to do that. The risk to doing that is that when all the fittings are made together and patinaed together, they match, and that's good. But if I had somebody remake something, matching the patina exactly can be difficult, and it's a risk that you run that if I had the Koiguchi and Fuji remade so that they would accommodate the theme that I was originally thinking, that the patina on them wouldn't match. So that required a little bit of change of plans. Now the idea is I'm going to do kind of a special paint job on the saya. It'll have kind of a wood look to it, but it will not be wood. It'll probably be a blackened or brown theme with some interesting paint on it that kind of gives it a different colored wood spin, if you will. And that's my plan going forward. Hopefully that works out. I think it's going to look really, really good. In a nutshell, though, you won't see anything on the saya that is Ito. So I'm not doing Samegawa, I'm not doing any kind of rattan wrap on it. It's going to be a simple lacquered suka on it, and the lacquer will match the saya. So it'll kind of have that Shirasaya Akuchi type mount. Again, I'm probably massacring the term for the style of mount, but that's what I'm going for. And the blade should be wrapped up sometime in the not too distant future in terms of the mount being finished up, and then the blade is going off to polish as well. Now, Josiah Boomershine is the one I'm going to be using to polish the sword, and I will certainly share the last update when I get the mount and finished product all back. Nutshell, it'll likely be a copper habaki, copper seppa. And you may have also noticed I didn't do manuki. The plan is to maybe do like a solid pin instead of Manuki. In terms of how it would fit either on rattan or on just the simple lacquered surface, I couldn't really wrap my head around how that would be there and look good. So the plan is to do something interesting with the Makugi so that it acts almost as an accent in a way that a Manuki would. And that's really all I have planned so far. Plans, of course, are subject to change, as my initial plan was. At some point I might do that theme, a fully kind of rattan wrapped looking piece, but this time I'm not going to. Wakizashi are, well, I mean, frankly, I don't honestly have a lot of luck in selling wakizashi, and I don't typically wear one when I'm doing aya, and I don't usually cut with one, so this is kind of something that is an artistic experiment. Not necessarily, an experiment isn't even the fair term. It is a something a little bit more wild, frankly. I have another Howard Clark wakizashi that I've been trying to sell for a couple of years. They don't necessarily move very quickly, and I need something that I am going to like myself in the event that I end up keeping it because no one wants to buy it. But the intention of this one is likely to do, is potentially to be resold, as it is a long wakizashi, almost katana size. I can't remember the exact length of the wakizashi, but it's almost like what a kid's sword would be. It's longer than your conventional wakizashi, and the size of it is very much related to katana in terms of size. It could be certainly called an O wakizashi, or maybe a ko katana or something, but the blade length isn't 24 inches, so it's not really a katana, and I don't know, you can get lost in that stuff. I honestly even thought a little bit about making like a My Little Pony katana for my daughter to train in, and she is learning just a little bit about swordsmanship, and if she wants to stick with it, then maybe so, but something about me said, even if I didn't sharpen the blade and used it as in Iaito, that having a 7-year-old with a very expensive Howard Clark wakizashi as a practice sword done up in a My Little Pony theme might just be too much even for me. So I didn't go that direction, but I still reserve the right to do that at some point. Anyway, that's all I have for you on this update. Hopefully you enjoyed the photos of the simple Fuchi Kashira. They're made by Josiah Boomershine. He has been a great guy to work with, and if you are interested in having fittings or anything like that made, I certainly recommend him. I've only had him make pretty rudimentary, simple things, and I'm sure his capabilities and talents extend well beyond that, but I kind of like the very utilitarian, simple themed Fuchi Kashira, and that's not necessarily overly traditional. There are examples of that traditionally, of course, but I like that theme myself, and Josiah has a way of bringing some artistry into those fittings in a way that is classic and shows that they are custom made and unique and beautiful in their own right, but at the same time aren't lavish and also don't take a profound amount of time to make, so they can be done on a not necessarily a budget. They're still not wildly inexpensive for simple metal pieces, especially when you compare them to, you know, pieces that you can buy that are production from Fred Lohman or Nihonzashi or some of the Chinese-made stuff on eBay. But when I get that stuff, it doesn't give me the impression that they are fully custom pieces, and I like that, so that's why I did that on this project. I wanted something simple and kind of rustic and rough looking. It's going to come out to be a little bit more elegant than my initial intention, but still I think it's going to work very well, and I'm very pleased with how the fittings look and feel. I haven't felt them yet, but I'm very pleased with how they look, and I think they're gonna do very well. Lessons learned for me, though, would be to understand a little bit more. When I initially thought of wrapping the item in rattan, I kind of gave Josiah the direction to make the Fuchi Kashira smaller, since it is a wakizashi, but somewhere in my mind I must have just neglected to understand that the wakizashi is very much katana sized, and if I'm wrapping rattan around it, there needs to be a little bit more meat on the bone. So take that for some sort of lesson learned, maybe for yourself. If you're planning on doing any type of wrap, whether it be samegawa or whether it be rattan or maybe some other substance, then you should probably plan ahead and make sure that you have fittings that will accommodate that and still allow the saya to be hardy enough and thick enough to last the ages, as I hope any project I'm involved with does. That's all I have for you. Hopefully you found it mildly interesting. Thanks for watching.